Do 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 do. Scooby Dooby 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 Doo. Time for a scary, scary show. Where my dogs at? Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Horror Humpdays. And tonight we are featuring uh, Pavor Nocturnus, which is just fancy talk for night terrors. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Beth. How you guys doing? Are you ready, buddy? I can't. Beth, Bobby put a picture in my head that I can't get out. So can you maybe smack him around a little bit for his indiscretions? So yeah, it was pretty disturbing, Beth. Pretty disturbing indeed. So anyhow, I'm so glad you guys made it. And good evening, Kevin. I see you are here. Welcome to, well, as Kevin calls it, Sleepless Wednesdays. So tonight's, we are on chapter 10. What does that mean, Brad? It doesn't mean anything to me because I don't have the book. Well, you can get the book on Amazon, any online booksellers, and it's available in paperback and also available in ebook format. I can sign copies for you if you'd like. Well, I can't really sign an ebook, but if you want me to sign your Kindle or sign your phone or whatever you read books on, I guess I could do that for you. Should I send you a live picture? Please do not. Actually, yeah, do send me a live picture and then I will screenshot or screen share that with everybody. And then Bobby can be present for everybody, all the regulars and everything else. How about that? I like that idea. I like that idea. I don't know if Kevin will like that idea, but for the most part, yes, I think that would be a good idea. Anyhow, getting back to Pavor Nocturnus, it's a book I put together, prompted by prompts from viewers or readers like you, and sent me in your worst nightmares, and I made stories out of them. And tonight's story is from a friend of mine, Joe Saul. Hey Chuck, how you doing? I don't know why I wear these glasses because I can only see far away with them. I can't see close up. Hey Jessica, how's it going? Welcome. And thank you very much, Chuck, for bringing the badgers and the bees. But yeah, tonight's story was given to me by a very dear friend of mine, Joe Saul. He everybody knows him as Pimo, and this is his nightmare. His nightmare totally completed the book because his nightmare was there was this little door that opened up on the wall, and he went inside it, and he was inside a haunted house, and he had to help these people inside the haunted house, and the doorway kept getting smaller and smaller, and I thought, oh my god, this is going to tie the entire book together, so boom, here we go, right? So anyhow, that's how tonight's story came about. It is the longest chapter. I read this book upon book release, and this chapter took me pretty close to 4 hours to read. And that was just straight reading, no little chat break like we do or whatever. That was just reading all the way through. So, plus I do not have any other published material that I haven't read, you guys. I think this will take us well into the fall. Well, it should be maybe 9 weeks. It'll probably take us. So, um, and if I could get to writing, then maybe I'd have some unpublished stuff I can read you. But that being said, so yeah, I've broken this down into parts. Tonight's part will probably take the whole hour. Um, even though even though I've broken it up, it will probably take about 40 minutes, 45 minutes to read to you guys. Um, Also, I was so busy today because I have the next couple days off of work. Um, I had I had to jam ass on a lot of work tickets and get those out of the way. So I did not have time to pre-read this. I mean, I read it 2 years ago, but I haven't read it since. So I got through part of it, but I didn't get through all of it. So I may stumble a little bit on tonight's reading, which, it's okay. It's just me telling you guys a story, right? Right, right. So, what else do I got to tell you? Um, see, do I got anything else going on? Oh, let's see. So next week, um, Bobby and I are doing the Orange Spectacular, and I believe that starts at 6 o'clock. It's in Hutchinson. It's at the fairgrounds. There, I think we're in one of the buildings there. There'll be signs all over, I'm sure. But yeah, so we're doing that. We'll be playing a gig. Well, basically, we're playing a gig for the vendors who will be setting up that night. So we'll be like background music, maybe something like that. I don't know. Bobby and I made the paper, I guess. He sent me a picture from the Winthrop newspaper, and there we were uh, playing music badly. And yeah, so that was pretty cool. I made it to the paper now in this little town, and but it was a very fun gig, a very fun gig. Um, and I think we'll look forward to some more gigs. After paying for my car to get fixed, I'm gonna need more gigs, I think. Yeah, because I still got a sister in Florida that's getting married, and I got to make it out to that. So yeah, um, might have to push through some more gigs. We are under the pavilion outside at the center of the McLeod County Fairgrounds. Really? That's where we're playing? That's freaking awesome, dude. We're doing a little outside concert. I dig that. So, and it's under the pavilion, so if it rains, we'll be good, right? Right. So, if you can text me or whatever, as many details as you can. You might have already sent me the flyer. I don't know, but I'll make an event for that, um, and put it up on here so you guys got all the details in case you want to stop out. It'll be cool enough just to check out the tractors. So I had an old Alice Chalmers WD out at my place when I lived in farm in Belle Plaine, and that was a front cranker. So yeah, and I learned how to drive a tractor on it. I couldn't remember how to do it, but yeah, it was it was fun to tool around on it. So anyhow, Pavor Nocturnus. Here we are. We're going into Joe's story. And tonight's story, chapter 10, is called Joe Takes a Dirt Nap. And the reason it's called that is because when Joe gave me the prompt for the story, he said, it's got to be something about me taking a dirt nap. And so that ended up being the title. So, all right, you guys. Yes, I'm drinking cola. I won't say the name. I need a small tractor with a snowblower. Well, I think Bobby would be your man to talk to about that because he probably knows somebody or has one because he has a lot of tractors at his house. And I'm sure he's probably got some at his dad's too. So you two should talk. So, but here I am, just connecting the world, all by telling horror stories. So, anyhow, welcome everybody to the b.hive Studios here in Winthrop, Minnesota. And we're a little blip on the map. We're a fun little town. Some of you have been here, some of you live here. So, yeah, welcome. I know we get we do get from time to time, we get a visit from New Zealand. I've checked on some of the rewatch lists, and we get a lot of Philippines. He'll look for something for you. Oh, see, there you go. Boom. Yeah, we get the Philippines, England watches these, and I'm trying to think, there was, well, New Zealand, of course, but I think I already said that. And I think Russia. So I don't know if that's a good thing, and I want to be connected with that, but yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we got everybody here that wants to be here, and those that won't be here. So, let's jump on this story, bras and sisses. I don't know how you'd say that, but you guys are bras, right? All right. Do. Santa. I should probably pull up the book so I can read it, right? Alright. Joe takes a dirt nap. Hey, asshole, came his stepdad's voice. Wake the fuck up! I'm taking your mom out. Joe rubbed his eyes. They were a little bloody from sleep and a fuck ton of pot. Another pounding on the bedroom door. If you don't wake up, I'll come in there and I'll pull you out of bed, his stepdad yelled. I heard you, Joe yelled back. Joe and his stepdad didn't get along. He didn't like the way he treated his mom, and Joe was treated like a piece of shit. He thought several times about running away, but he had a kid sister, and he didn't want to leave her behind. About fucking time, his stepdad spat as he opened his bedroom door. Now come on, your mother and I are gonna be late, and your sister's hungry. Whatever, Joe mumbled. The fuck you say to me? I heard what you said. You better watch yourself. Are you fucking stoned? Are you? God damn it! Kay, do something with your kid before I lose my shit! Joe's mom stepped out of the bathroom. She was always the level head in the family, through everything that went on in their lives. Honey, she said to Joe, please fix your sister something for dinner, won't you? Yes, Mom. Thank you. She kissed his cheek and went to the closet to grab her sweater. Have a good night, kids. She kissed her daughter. You behave yourself for your brother, okay? Yeah, Mom, she said. Joe made mac and cheese with salsa. It was the way his sister liked it, and it was easy to make. They both watched a horror movie on the VCR, and then he sent her to bed. This was the ritual. His stepdad loved to drink, and Mom loved to be with him. They'd go out almost every night. Joe didn't mind because he wouldn't have to be around his stepdad. He and his sister would kick back and watch a movie, and she'd either go off to bed or sit up reading. Joe, on the other hand, loved to load his bong, finish a bowl, put on Kiss Destroyer, and put the headphones on and chill. The weed Must have had a little extra in it. After choking on the smoke for a few minutes, and the magic carpet arrived to give him that floating feeling, the lights began to flare. Not with something new, and part of him wondered what that something was. He took a deep breath and decided to try and ride it out. The flare became prisms. Rainbows, made up of colors he had never seen before, danced all around him. A smell assaulted his nostrils. At first it was like flowers, and then it became something stronger and more earthy. A metallic taste rose from his saliva glands. "Hey, Toby, welcome back." "What the fuck is this?" he muttered to himself. He sat up in bed, and the headphone cord pulled out of its stereo. Detroit Rock City blared out of his speakers. He pulled the headset off and tried to stand up and got to his stereo to turn it down before his sister woke up. His legs failed him, and he hit the ground. "Fucking Hector," he thought to himself. "You lace this motherfucker." Hector Matthews was his friend and his source for weed, and he had been known to sprinkle a little magic in his pot from time to time. Great Expectations began to blare out of the speakers next. Joe attempted to get himself up, to at least hit the power button on his stereo. He fell into it instead, and the record skipped. He decided to just lay there on the floor until whatever mind fuck was happening decided to mellow. "Joe!" came a tiny whisper. "Joe, wake up!" The fuck? He lifted his head off the carpet, drool leaking from the corner of his mouth. "You must wake up, Joe!" The voice sounded like it belonged to a little child, and at first he thought it was his sister, awoken to the sounds of Kiss. "Sorry, kiddo," he slurred. "Music too loud?" "Joe, I'm over here." He cranked his head around, and standing at his feet was the shape of a young boy. The boy was a monochrome color, like he was a hologram jittering in the smoke of his bong. "Who?" Joe blinked his eyes several times. "Who the fuck are you?" "You won't understand. Listen, you must do something very important." "I don't understand. What the fuck is happening? Am I tripping balls or..." "You're not hallucinating, Joe. This is real. You must help them." "Help who?" "The Dreamers, Joe. You must rescue the Dreamers." Dude, is this some Freddy Krueger bullshit? Fuck that. The boy's image began to flicker, as if the strip of film was beginning to end. "You must hurry. Losing cohesion. Joe, you are Slavicho. Please." Zivbavi... What? The word sounded Polish, like something his grandmother used to say when he was little. "Hey, come back here." The image was gone. The taste and smell in his mouth was gone as well. He tried to lift his head again, and it spun, and the room went crooked, and he passed out. That was back in 1985. He didn't have another episode like that since. He was managing a bar now, living in the upstairs apartment. His mom had died a few years back, his stepfather shortly before that. He'd grown a beard now. His hair was still long, but turning gray in random streaks. He suffered what the majority of Gen Xers suffered from after 40. Hypertension, prediabetes, back pain, and losing eyesight. But the life of a bar manager didn't have time to eat healthy, exercise daily, watch blood sugar levels, etc., etc. Lucky if he had time to take a shit during the day, leave alone take care of his body. But he was upright and walking on this side of the grass, so he figured he was winning. It was a dead night for the bar. He had let his two waitresses go, kept Jenny around to bartend, and he sat in the kitchen to cook. Thursdays were usually a busy night, but after the meat raffle, folks just went home. A couple of regulars sat in their usual stools, pissing away their paychecks on the pull tabs, but otherwise, it was dead. It was 9 p.m., and Joe decided he was going to scrape the grill and drain the fryer. Close the kitchen for the night. If someone wanted food after that, well, they could order a Hedgie's pizza. "Jen," he said to the bartender, "I'm closing the kitchen. Pour me a Southern and Diet." Jen knew the routine and had the cocktail done before he finished his order and handed it to him. "That's why I loves you. And that's why you pay me the big bucks," she joked. He was on his fourth by the time the kitchen was cleaned. He was mopping the greasy floor when he noticed the lights flicker. He stopped mopping and looked around. They flickered again, but the bar lights stayed steady. "What the fuck?" he muttered to himself. And that's when a familiar taste showed up in his mouth. It was metallic and almost coppery. He ran his finger through his mouth and looked to see if his gums were bleeding. Nothing. Just saliva. He wrung out his mop and then dumped the dirty mop water into the big sink out back. He ran another bucket for Jenny when she was ready to close. He sat down at his usual spot at the end of the bar. The lights weren't flickering out here, but they were starting to flare a little bit. "You okay?" Jen asked. He rubbed his eyes and drank the rest of his drink. "Yeah," he said, bourbon dripping from his mustache. "Eyes are getting tired." Jen sat with a fresh drink in front of him. "You look like shit," she said. "No offense." "None taken. I take that as a compliment." He tipped his drink and gulped down half. The lights were flaring fiercely now. Little prisms shimmered at the edge of them. I think I'm gonna go upstairs for a while." "Okay. You got closing okay?" Most of the big stuff is done, boss man. I just have vacuuming and mopping to do. I'll count out the till and leave the money bags in the safe. You sure you're okay?" "Yeah, I think so. Just leave the keys in my mailbox. I'll come up to check on you after closing, okay?" "I'll be fine." He got up, and the room tilted a little, and he almost fell over. Jen caught him. The regulars got up and stumbled over to them. "What's up, Joe?" Fritzy slurred. "You need help upstairs?" "Fuck, Fritzy," Jen laughed. "You can barely walk yourself. Sit your worthless ass down. I got this." Joe told the boys to stay in their bar stools till Jen got back downstairs. They acknowledged the best they could, and he and his bartender headed up the steep staircase to his apartment. She plopped him down on his couch. His head was swimming, and he didn't want to keep his eyes open. The metal tang in his mouth was getting stronger. "What the fuck did you get put in those drinks?" he muttered. "Just your usual," she said, slightly offended. "Southern Comfort and Coke from the gun. Unless your ice cubes are tainted, I don't know what you got going on." "Grab me a bucket, will you? Then you better get downstairs before Fritzy drinks the bar dry." She handed him a bucket she found under the sink, and she said she'd check on him later and left. Joe spit out a wad of that taste and laid his head down on the couch pillow. "Alexa," he shouted to his AI, "play Kiss, Destroyer." "Playing Kiss Destroyer on Amazon Music," she said with a hint of personality. The lights in his apartment began to flicker, like they did in the bar's kitchen. "Oh, fuck," he groaned. "Here we go." The smell of flowers, freshly cut, began to invade his nostrils. Beautiful at first and comforting, and then they got stronger and took on the scent of wet leaves and dirt. He grabbed the bucket and puked the last 6 cocktails he inhaled that night. Violently, it came out, leaving that sour taste of bile mixing with the metallic taste. Joe was on the floor now, one hand cradling the bucket and the other his stomach. "Stop this!" he cried. "Please, for the love of God, stop this!" "Joe!" It was that little boy's voice from long ago. "You're back! Are you ready to help them now?" "Not you, God damn it, not the little Freddy Krueger kid again. Fuck me." "There's no time, Joe. You must help them now. It may already be too late." "Fuck, dude. I can't even help myself right now." "You can do this. You're the Zvavichel. But you must hurry." "Zvavichel? What the fuck is that?" The little boy's image was just like before, like he was just a hologram flickering in the air. But his hand was solid as he slapped Joe across the face, twice. "What the fuck was that for?" he said, holding his cheek. "There isn't any time for this, Joe." The boy was getting impatient. "There are souls that depend on you. Wake up. Wake the fuck up." "Your mama know you talk like that?" "Our mama is dead, Joe. You know that." "Wait." Joe began to sober up. His head was still cloudy, but he was beginning to become alert. "Did you say our mama?" "Yes." How can that be? It was just me and my sister growing up." "Our sister." "Are you?" "No, you can't be. I'm part of you, Joe. Pull yourself together. You must go in there and help them." "Going where?" The boy backed away and aimed his gaze at a small door that was on the wall. "What the fuck is that? That wasn't there a minute." "Beyond that doorway," the boy said, "is the land of Nod. You must go there and help the dreamers. They're in trouble and could be losing their souls as we speak." The door was about 3.5 feet tall and 4 feet wide. It was made from old rotted barnwood. "I can't." Joe was more alert than he had been in a long time. I can't go in there. I won't fit inside that." "You can now, but it grows smaller. It was a normal-sized door when we met last." The boy turned the rusty brass knob and opened the door. Beyond was a dark hallway. What is... "It's the land of Nod. It's a place where you go when you dream. Beyond this door lies the house of Pavor Nocturnus. The house is a living thing. It is sentient. It has trapped dreamers within its walls and feeds on their nightmares." "What can I do?" he said with fear filling his stomach. I can't do anything for them." "But you can, Joe. You are the Zvabichel. You are the savior." Long ago, when Joseph Salinsky was a young boy of around 7, he was playing in the backyard of his grandmother's house. She lived on a 400-acre farm in northern Minnesota. He loved playing with the chickens and the goats and petting the cows. He had a favorite barn cat that used to follow him around. On this particular day, he was walking around grandmother's flower beds. Monarch butterflies were dancing around the petals of her morning glories and tulips. He was following one and was watching it rest on the petal of a black-eyed Susan. Maja, the barn cat, a mischievous black and white barn cat, was up on her haunches, ready to pounce on it. "No, Maja," he scolded. "Leave the butterfly alone." Maja's attention turned to a whirring sound to their right. It was a soft sound that gently tickled his ears to hear it. He spotted what looked like a snake slithering around the flower bed, but it was slithering in mid-air. "What is—" His eyes wide and a little scared. "Grandma?" He didn't shout for his grandmother. His throat was too tight. The flying snake made its way towards the butterfly. It was an impossible green color, like none he had seen before. Insectile wings beat so fast they were blurry and hard to make out. As it got closer, he noticed it. He noticed it had two tiny legs in the front towards its triangular head, and two more towards the back of its tail. The butterfly fluttered her wings and danced her way to the far side of the flower beds. Joe followed the flying snake, which began to weave its way to where the butterfly had gone. His little keds zipping through the tall prairie grass, just in time to see the snake's tongue whip out of its mouth and snatch the monarch and drag it rapidly into its mouth. Maja trampled through the tall flowers and leapt at it. It slithered in several series of S-shapes and then blurred itself into thin air. Both Joe and his favorite barn cat, Maja, ran to the house screaming for Grandma. "Calm yourself, Joseph," her Polish accent heavy and thick. "What are you so excited about?" There was a flying snake out in your garden." He was both hyperventilating and shouting. It ate a butterfly! Maja saw it too!" Grandma stared out at her garden. Her eyes were so dark brown they were almost black. Though so deeply dark, they were still happy eyes. Her pale cheeks painted rose from the daily chores. "Where is it now, Joseph?" she said, placing her hand on his shoulder. He paused for a moment. She could tell that his brain was trying to make sense of what he had witnessed. With sadness, she watched the wonder leave his face and reality take its place. "It disappeared." His arms went slack and fell to his sides, and then he plopped himself onto the little bench Grandma had made. "It was really there," he said in a defeated tone, accentuated by his lower lip. "Honest it was, Grandma." Grandma sat down next to him, her plump hips squeezing him a little into the armrest of the bench. She placed an arm around him and gently patted his shoulder. "What you saw, Joseph," she said, "was what we used to call a smock in the old country." "A smock?" "Yes. It's what your fairy tale books would call a dragon. Every country has their own name for them, but your ancestors called them smocks." "So, you believe me?" "Yes, of course I do, my darling child." She hugged him tightly and then released him. "I suppose I should tell you a little bit about us, about the family, about you and about me." "Well, I know we came from Poland," Joe said. "Yes, but we are more than just ordinary Poles, grandson. So much more." "What do you mean?" "You come from a long line of Zwabichels, or saviors." "What are Zwabichels?" Do you remember your dreams, Joseph? Yes, especially the scary ones. Where do you think those dreams come from? Joe looked puzzled for a moment, then said, My head? Grandma gave a deep laugh and then said, True, but they come from somewhere further, somewhere deeper. Like on another planet? Close, close, Joseph. There's a whole other world. Some call it the land of Nod, or the place of sleep. It exists only because we exist. We dream it into existence. All those dreams we have take form in this land of Nod. Why can't we see it? We can when we dream. But sometimes, oh dear, sometimes those things we dream about, they come over here. Joe thought about some of the horrible, terrible nightmares he had and shivered. And that's where our ancestors come in. We stand at the bridge and stop anything from coming over here. Those people are called saviors, or zvabichos. Are you a zvabicho? I am, and so was your great-grandfather, and so you will be. Me? The time will come, Joseph, when it will be your turn to stand at the gate and protect us from what lies beyond the bridge. Joe thought about this for a bit with his 8-year-old brain. When? He asked finally. My dear boy, she said, looking out at her flower beds. When I pass, you will need to take over. But I don't want you to pass. He was getting upset. Not ever. She cuddled him and kissed his forehead. Dearest, we all must pass on sometime. It's inevitable. It's not such a horrible thing. But don't worry yourself. I'll help you along the way before that happens, okay? Okay, he agreed. How did that smock get across over here? Good question, Joseph. There are places where the wall between here and there is thin, and sometimes things get across on their own. Places like here, it is thin. There are other places too, but those are also guarded by others like us. Joe sat perplexed by this conversation. The air felt heavy and hot, left them both breathless to some degree. He could hear the cicadas singing in the trees in his grandmother's grove. To some it may sound eerie, but to Joe it would be like a heavenly chorus. It was comforting to him all the way into his adult life. Live well, Joseph, Grandma warned. Take care of yourself and live good. I will, Grandma. I know you will. Adult Joe finally understood. Remembering that day and his grandmother's words sobered him up. That small doorway sat in the wall like a mouth waiting to swallow him. Beyond were hallways into the nightmares of others, and it was he who was to walk through that doorway and wake them up. The image of the little boy was him, the memory of him from the day that he saw a real live dragon. When he was told by his grandmother about what he was here to do, that image was gone now, fully remembered. He crouched in the doorway and felt the cold, damp air blow through his hair. Screams and groans were heard from some faraway room in the house of Pavor Nocturnus, the house of night terrors. He stood up on the other side and walked down the crooked hallway, goose flesh standing on end, to the first door and opened it. Cold, damp air gushed out of the doorway and blew his hair back. It was the sickening type of cold that one would feel within a crypt. Joe felt the arthritis in his back kick in. It looked to be the bedroom of a little boy. On one wall was a blue shag carpeting. Star Wars posters adorned one side of his bedroom, and on the other was a mix of Farrah Fawcett and Lonnie Anderson posters, taken from the latest issues of Tiger Beat magazine. Tiger Beat, Joe thought to himself. I must be in the 70s. In the corner, surrounded by action figures and their respective vehicles, was a small furry rocking chair, the same color blue as the shag carpeting on the wall. On the other side of the room sat a small single bed with a small human shape shifting beneath the covers. As he made his way to the bed, the rocking chair began a slow rock. The fuck? He jumped. The chair stopped in mid-rock, and then made its way slowly back to its original position. It's the devil, said a little voice behind him. He spun around, and sitting upright in the bed was the little boy. He looked to be around 7 or 8. Black hair matted to his face from sweat and dark circles under his deep brown eyes. Hey, little man, Joe said cautiously. What's your name? Brandon, the little boy said in a hushed voice. Brandon, my name's Joe. He won't like you being here. Who won't? The devil. There is no devil, not here. The little boy's eyes got wide, and his mouth dropped open. He pointed towards the rocking chair. Joe spun around and crouched on the back of the little blue rocking chair. Joe spun around and crouched on the back of the little blue rocking chair, sat something out of a Clive Barker novel. Joe almost lost control of his bladder. What the fuck is that? He jumped onto the bed with Brandon. Brandon, it whispered to the boy. Most of its body was made of shadow. 2 red pupilless eyes blazed from obsidian sockets. The shape of ram's horns jutted from its boil-infested brow. It's, the boy stuttered, it's the devil! Let's get out of here, Joe urged, grabbing Brandon's tiny hand. The boy stays, it hissed. I have to stay, Brandon said with a frown. He has my mom. I'll take your father too, whelp. Joe pulled Brandon to him, cradling him in his arms, and slid off the bed. He won't let us leave, Brandon began to buck. Suddenly there was a loud, ear-splitting screech, and Joe almost lost his grip on Brandon. Mama, Brandon said. Joe felt sharp claws rip into his back and made their way across his shoulder blades. He dropped to his knees, still sheltering Brandon from the attack. Let the boy go, the devil said. He belongs to me. Fuck off, Joe shouted, and stumbled his way towards the door. The door slammed shut, and Joe turned just in time to catch a set of claws ripping into his face, tearing from his brow to his chin. He screamed out in pain and dropped Brandon. The mother thing screeched at him again and scooped up her son and flung Brandon onto the bed. Best you leave before Mother rips you to shreds, the devil said with a predatory grin. I'm not leaving the boy, Joe said defiantly. Blood was dripping into his eye from his wounds, which felt like they were on fire. Suit yourself. This should be amusing. The mother snarled and knocked Joe into the opposite wall, his wounds and back screaming at him to just lay down and die. But he got back up and tried to take a swing. He overshot, and she dug her claws in a stabbing motion into his rib cage. He could feel her nails wriggling in between his ribs, tearing the cartilage apart. The agony was too much, and he thought he would go insane if she didn't withdraw from him. But she didn't. She wriggled her fingers, pulling his ribs apart slowly. "Leave the boy to me," the devil spoke, "and I will have Mother pull her claws from you." Joe looked at Brandon, shivering on his bed, tears gushing from his deep-set brown eyes. His mother wriggled her fingers again to reinforce the devil's bargain. "Okay!" Joe shouted in defeat. "Okay! Just please release me!" "Are you sure?" the devil asked. The mother's fingers writhed inside of his rib cage, causing him to scream out again. "Yes!" She dropped him to the ground, and he fell into a heap. "Go then. Never return again." Time for Dream Beaver. That's right, Chuck. Holding his rib cage, his long hair stuck to his bloodied face, he crawled out the door of the bedroom. He looked up and caught a glimpse of Brandon with his hopeless expression on his face. I'm so sorry," Joe tried to say before the door slammed shut in his face. He wept, drowning in the failure he felt. "I'm so sorry, kid," he said to himself. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't take the pain anymore." There was a faintly familiar whirring sound coming from down one of the many hallways. It gave off a bright yellow glow. "Jesus," Joe muttered. "Now what the fuck is coming out this way?" The noise got louder, and the glow was brighter, and to his left, a baseball-sized orb of light zigzagged through the air, and then hovered before him. Inside the orb was a snake-like creature, with insectile wings, whirring like a hummingbird. "It's a smock," Joe thought to himself. "More than that, grandson," the orb said. "Nana," he said in his defeated voice. "Get up, Joseph. You have sleepers to save." I can't. I'm afraid I've failed, and now I'm dying." "You're not dying. You are Zlavichel. Stand up." Joe looked down at his wounds. They were absent. Even the pool of his own blood, which he thought was gathering around him, was not there. His face, back, and ribs ached, but they were not harmed. You healed me," he said. "No, Joseph. Things work differently over here," his grandmother said. "You were wounded, but just in your mind. The things that exist here exist in your mind, and those that are trapped here. But they feel so fucking real. The things that dwell in the house of Pavor Nocturnus are very powerful. They are fed on the energies of captive dreamers that sleep within its walls. You will see and experience many horrors within, not just your own, but those of others. You must remember that you are a power too. You must help these dreamers believe in you and believe in yourself to draw your own power." "Fuck, Nana. I don't think I can do this." "You must. You are born with compassion for others. Now stand up, and you help that boy." "Son of a... Dan, you watch your language." Yes, Nana. Good boy. You've got this, Joseph. I believe in you. Joe braced himself against the wall and slid himself upright. His back ached and his ribs felt severely bruised, but he shook it off and looked up at the door he had just crawled out of. The orb began to glow even brighter, and then enveloped him in its light. He felt warmth wash over him, and his aches began to subside. He felt strength return to his muscles. He walked up to the door and kicked it. A long crack appeared in the middle of its old, rotted wood. He gave it another kick, feeling the splinters hit his shins, and the door fell apart into a pile of sawdust into the room. The same cold wind blew some of those dust particles into his face. "Brandon!" he shouted across the room. "It's time to wake up!" Brandon's frightened eyes looked over at Joe, and then back at the devil, still hunched onto the back of the tiny rocking chair, with his oily, black-taloned feet. "Back for more?" the devil taunted. "I've held this sleeper for over 40 years. Your pathetic attempt won't free him now." "Brandon, listen to me." Joe walked intentionally towards Brandon's bed. "This is all just a horrible dream. There is no devil here." Out of the blackness of the boy's closet, his mother crawled out, razor-sharp talons clicking and scraping at the floor, her mouth wide open and ear-splitting screeches blaring from deep in her throat. Brandon pulled his blankets around him and covered his head. Mother leapt at Joe, and he caught her by the throat. She began to thrash and claw at his face. "Brandon!" he hollered. "Wake up! This is only a nightmare!" "But—" Brandon screamed back, muffled by the covers. But Mom!" The mom thing tried to stab her claws into his ribs again, but this time they couldn't penetrate his flesh. "Look at me, Brandon!" Joe pleaded. "This is not your mother!" Brandon reluctantly pulled the cover from his face and peeked towards the thing that had disguised itself as his mother. In her place was a shapeless mass of bubbling black goo. Faces tried to form inside that mass, but would melt back into it. "This is not your mother, Brandon. This is nothing." "Don't listen to him, Brandon," the devil cried. "She is your mother. I am the devil. The devil, damn it!" "Your mother is waiting for you on the other side, buddy. You just have to wake up." The thing, in Joe's grasp, undulated and puddled at his feet. Brandon slid himself to the edge of his bed and looked at the devil. "You're not real either," he said as strongly as he could. "Silly boy," it laughed. "I'm more real than you think. I live in your tiny little boy mind. I will stay there and haunt every dream your bratty little mind can—" Joe kicked the rocking chair out from underneath it, and its arms flailing for balance did not stop it from hitting the floor in a puff of charcoal-colored mist. "Come on, buddy. Let's get out of here." Brandon leapt off the bed and into Joe's arms. They walked out of the empty room that darkened as they left. When they reached the hallway, the doorway had melted away, and an old rotted wall took its place. You saved me," Brandon said as Joe put him down. "You saved yourself, little man," Joe said. "Now you just have to wake up, okay?" But I am awake." "No, I'm afraid not. You've been asleep for a long, long time. When you wake up, the world is going to look a little different. Parents are going to look a little different. Even you are going to look a little different. But it will be okay. Okay. Close your eyes super tight. Take a deep, long breath. And then open them. Are you ready? Yeah. Close them up tight, no peeking. Brandon squeezed his eyes tight. Now take a deep breath in. Now take a deep breath in and hold it. Brandon filled his little lungs with as much air as he could. Now when I count to 3, I want you to let out all that air and then open your eyes. Are you ready? Brandon nodded his head. 1, 2, 3. Somebody get the doctor! A voice said. Brandon's eyes struggled to break free of the crust that had held them closed. Get his parents on the phone! The same voice ordered. Mom? He tried to say, but it came out in a gravelly mumble that hurt the back of his throat. His right eye opened and fluttered, and the view was cloudy. Blurry shapes were moving. It was moving about, and there were machines beeping and pinging in the background. It's okay, sir, the nurse said. Welcome back. He tried to speak again, but his throat wouldn't allow it. It felt dusty and full of sand. He attempted to move his hand to wipe his mouth. It felt like it was creaking, and it was heavy. His other eye opened, and his hands looked far too big to be his. You've been asleep for a very long time, the nurse said, trying to wet his eyes with a damp cloth. I'll get you some water. When his hand reached his face, he felt facial hair on his chin. Sorry, we haven't been able to shave you for a few days. Usually your dad takes care of that. He'll be happy to see you awake. Dad? He mumbled. Another nurse came into his room. Dr. Schultz is on her way. She's up on 5 dealing with an overdose. Did you get a hold of his parents? The first nurse asked. Yes, they'll be here in about 30 minutes. Brandon smiled. The house of Pavor Nocturnus trembled in anger. Never had it lost its nourishment so suddenly. It was ripped from its rotted wood hands. For nearly 30 years it had kept this food in a deep sleep, to dream its delectable dreams, only to be denied by the whim of some interloper. No matter, it thought. There were plenty more milk cows to feed it. Soon it would be powerful enough to leave the land of Nod for good, to unleash its progeny on the puny little insects that inhabit the land of lucidity, and they will feed, oh, how they will feed. As to this stranger that wanders its halls, this self-righteous savior, it has its own fears, its own nightmares, and if need be, it will become food itself. There's always a weakness, always a chink in the armor. It had been feeding since the dawn of man, and it had experience and the wiles that it could use, the tricks and glamours it could employ to tear the Savior apart. And that, my friends, is the end of part 1 of chapter 10. Joe takes a dirt nap. So yeah, that took about the whole hour, so we'll have to keep it down to something like that. Oh, I'm blind. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Yeah. Oh, damn. That's always a good thing when you say that, Kev. So, I like the idea of a dream beaver. It might be like the dream version of the badger or something like that, huh, Chuck? So, anyhow, this is kind of me introducing you to the world of the Land of Nod, which I believe is where all of these nightmare creatures that are in my stories come from. If you look back on my book Sleepwalker, there were things coming out of thin spots that, in different realities, that the main character there was slipping through, and also thin spots. I sure enjoyed it. Good, I'm glad you did. Hey, thanks, Chuck. You have a great night as well. So yeah, so it's been kind of a theme. I've been wanting to actually kind of do like a Lord of the Rings thing, but do it with a. It was called The Land of Nod, and it was going to be like a trilogy or something like that, or a series. Well, thank you, Beth. Thank you. Um, so yeah, that's still this actually started. The Land of Nod started out as kind of like a young adult horror fantasy book. I actually got about 12 chapters done on it, and I've lost. I don't know where it is anymore. But anyhow, I wanted to write this book called Land of Nod, and now there's an issue, um, and it kind of makes me wonder a little bit. But I read in the news, entertainment news, that on Prime Video there is a series coming out called, you guessed it, The Land of Nod. And it's kind of the same premise that I had for this book. So, yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know, that one has me a little upset. I don't know how I feel about that. But I need to publish that before her. Um, need to publish that before, yeah, that turns into a show. I don't know. We'll see what I got time for. So, but anyways, I'm glad you guys enjoyed tonight's story. It will continue next week into part 2, and Joe will be visiting another familiar dreamer and trying to rescue them as well. So, I hope you guys join me again. I always love having you guys with. You guys are a lot of fun. I love the comments. So please keep commenting when you come on here. And even if you just stop by to visit or whatever, and just running through, just drop a hello or drop a emoji waving or something like that. Anything would be nice, but just give me a hello. That'd be great. So, Kev, you have a good rest of your night as well. Bobby, please put your clothes back on and go to sleep. Don't do that to Beth. Have a good night, Beth. Have a good night, Kev. Have a good night, everybody that came out. Jessica, thank you all very much for your kind words. I'm glad you enjoyed my stories. And thank you for coming along and joining me on this awesome book, if I say so myself, right? Can't thank you enough for sharing your talents, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for enjoying them, so I wouldn't do this without you. So, alright, thank you all very much. Love you, peace, and a bottle of hair grease, as they say. Have a great night. Love you, folks. Time to close your eyes. I'm going fishing up north. Leaving tomorrow night or Friday morning, something like that. So anyhow, so I hope you guys enjoy your weekends. Later.